After living through the whimsical adventure that is Ocarina of Time, Link goes on to experience the horrible nightmare that is Majora's Mask. The undertones of darkness from its predecessor are now overtones, taking center stage. This guy is dead. This guy is dead. This guy is cursed. These girls are depressed. This guy has no toilet paper. And everyone is about to die to the goddamn moon. And the moon don't look too happy about it neither. Link goes into a dark forest in search of the most hated companion character in video game history, and while doing so, loses his other companion. This happening at the hands of the mask-wearing Skull Kid, who in a Cronenbergian ritual also magically binds the soul of a dead tree man to Link. With Yellow Tsundere Navi and Tao, he encounters an even creepier creature who promises to heal him if he washes his hand by acquiring the stolen Majora's Mask. Now Link doesn't have too many choices here. To actually get help though, he must take back the Ocarina of Time that the kid had stolen earlier. Within Clocktown, the main hub for this adventure of advanced lunacy, he encounters many great people. There's Tingle, a 35-year-old man-child virgin who believes he is a fairy, a lady working in the minigame offering place who actively fetishizes sentient rocks, this kind grandma who, in return for helping her by stopping a thief, does us the kindness of gifting us a mask which quite literally straight up explodes in our face. What's wrong with you, grandma? He goes to find the big fairy, who is destroyed, so he goes to find the small fairy, brings her to revive the big titty fairy, shoots a balloon, plays with racist kids to get access to their clan's hideout, finds the moon's tear with the help of the decrepit geezer chilling in the liminal space simulation room, which naturally can be exchanged for the hottest spot in town, whence he flies up to meet the Skull Kid on the clock tower at midnight underneath the most romantic moonlit sky. A bit too romantic perhaps, and a bit too moonlit perhaps, as the moon is getting far too close. Link gets his hands back on the ocarina and plays a familiar tune, which now carries an unfamiliar ability, transporting him back to where he came from, the dawn of the first day. This shall be our hero's life now, a Groundhog Day loop to avoid certain catastrophe, a period of 3 days to be relived. But I suppose we can at least get our proper body back before we do that. Pulling out a comically large organ, the salesman cures Link happily. I suppose he does most things happily, to be fair. Though the news of our inability to regain possession of the mask seems to be one of the few things to kill a smile, triggering a psychotic breakdown. As per Blackface Navi, we must now visit all the directions to solve crises in its local temples, as that will apparently give us some kind of option to stop the doomsday scenario from taking place. At least that's the only lead we have, so might as well. We also get a memory/vision of the Skull Kid from a tree, who back in the day was a rather nice individual, leaving his crimes only at the level of property damage and theft. We visit most certainly Miyazaki's favorite area in this game. It is a very fun area, with even more fun enemies. In this dank-ass swamp, an octopus blocks our way, so it logically follows that we need to get a potion from a witch to another witch experiencing a near-death scenario. Now this witch is actually the boat to a person, and this boat-to-boat crashes into the octopus to lead us to the terrain of the Dekus. The theme of racism continues as the questionably dressed King of Nuts haphazardly condemns the monkey to death for the crime of not having done anything. The Deku princess is missing, and per Monkey's utterance, we need to quickly get into the local temple.
That has to be the ugliest
temple
I've ever seen.
This is all very standard fare, par for the course, you know, getting a bow, killing a big guy, though the sound effects that the Oompa Loompa-ass bossman creates are truly anything but standard. We get the first big Chungus Bossman mask while freeing a giant, who shows us that we must repeat this process 3 more times. We stuff the princess into Link's piss bottle and return to King Dumbass, who is girl-bossed into freeing Monkey at last. We next want to free the north of whatever curse has befallen it. We shall reset time once again, and what we find thereafter following the direction of north is ice. A whole lot of it indeed. And the local population of rocks seems to not be doing too well with it. This cursed, colder than cold ice can is our luck, be unfrozen, with a few drops of fresh spring water. Using the newly acquired Eye of Truth, we find this ghost rockman, who we follow to his grave. Once a great warrior, he has now been reduced to dead. We prescribe the dead rock with high-grade copium in song form, which lets him let go of his regrets and lets us have a sick new mask. Recall the days spent rolling across Hyrule Field? We can do that now, but in sicko mode. Link also sort of promised the dead rock to help out the frozen rockman and take revenge against the murderer of our rock acquaintance. Thus we go to vanquish the beast of the mountain temple. But there's a slight problem. This is Larry the Goron. He ate his rock vegetables when he was a kid, as you can see. He's also dickhead, blowing and blowing like me when I see your mother's cock. He's probably also responsible for this rock's death. Luckily there is something that can be done against this giant. Entering the domain of the rocks, we find an interesting scene where the local crybaby is causing quite a stir by crying and being a baby. To put a stop to this, we venture to learn the Goron lullaby, which can put any rock to sleep, which hints at what we are about to carry out. We put the big ass Goron to sleep with a magic like lullaby, which causes him to fall over and die. Did I mention this was a dark game? Don't believe me? Look at this. Where is he? Consumed by the draw distance void. If he survived, he will live out his days in PS1 Silent Hill. He will be missed by not so many. Finally, the path to the cold temple is free, and we are Link Guy. Of course we explore this temple. It's a great temple if you love falling down and retreading ground. Pushing through this temple rewards us with possibly the greatest 3D Zelda boss guy ever made, letting us race against an evil dog. More mask, more giant, more heart, all good. There's always more to be done in any Zelda area, of course, like this shitty frog choir stuff. But I shall say, it is time to move on. Isn't that the theme of this game after all? As is natural, we need a horse, as our horse has most certainly met an untimely demise. We visit the only ranch of the land, which houses one horse. Our horse. Let us not question how these ladies got her, and rather be elated by our unexpected reunion. Joy is so hard to come by in this land. But this is not all we're doing here, as the little girl claims there to be an approaching alien invasion, with the goal to steal their cows. Naturally, we do not believe such childish tales. Yet, a revisitation of this place on the third day seems to prove her point, considering the lack of cows and the lack of anything but a quiet despair on the girl's face, inviting you to wonder what the hell these sky creatures are, and just what they did. Letting this stand would seem a tad too questionable, which is why we'll travel back in time and take care of these foreign invaders in a sequence that is only rivaled by the escaping random ass bandit sequence in its ability to annoy. We make our way to the water area, words that may put fear into most a gamer's heart, but worry not, we are lucky, as this fishman dies. Which, tragedy of course, but it does give us the ability to steal his abilities, and also his identity. We can now swim in a way that is not terribly clunky and unfun, which is a welcome change in a Nintendo 64 game. The big problem of this place is an ill-fated band performance, for the songstress has lost her voice, and the lead guitarist is fucking dead. But we didn't just learn his swimming skills, we can also shred on his guitar. We've also stolen his social life and relationships. I assure you it will prove necessary to cuck the fish. But before any of that, we need to save their, I suppose technically now also our, children, many of whom have been taken by the Gerudos, whose entire race are actually pirates in this land. This is a very fun part of the game, especially if you don't have enough bottles to hold all the eggs. And if you're a smart man like me, who is unable to eject his eggs into this pool. But nevertheless, in the end, they do all hatch. Do I have to pay child support? Aren't I still a child myself? Bringing them all to hatch teaches us a song. And playing this song while committing identity theft causes the return of the voice, which causes a big turtle man to spawn, who brings us to the water temple. The water temple is a water temple indeed, definitely one of the water temples of all time. It's not as water temple as the water temple, but it is a water temple in its own right. It is the essence of a problem within the world of Zelda dungeons, in my personal opinion, where the complexity of it makes it more interesting but also more annoying to play through. Anyway, the boss of this dungeon is a big fish indeed. I am unsure whether this is one of the hardest 3D Zelda bosses, or if I'm just very devoid of skill. Water bosses have never been my forte though, I'm afraid. Still, we receive another mask and meet another giant. The final direction is a break from the typical grass fire water theming we have been going through so far, instead offering rock. We once again commit identity theft, to use the skeleton soldiers to commit unspeakable things at the stone graveyard, so that we may learn a song we already knew many years ago, to continue further to and through the stone village, where the dead are being a bit wankerish. We move on to the Stone Tower, where we must summon 2000's creepypasta to aid us in getting to the Stone Tower Temple. This rather creative temple must be explored both right side up and wrong side up, and culminates in finding the giant's mask, which makes us giant, which sounds rather cool until you realize that being giant in a video game, if you're fighting a giant beast, just means you're now regular sized fighting a regular sized beast instead. Once the Chungus masks are gathered, all the giants are ready to do something, maybe. We should hope so anyway. But before the confrontation with the guy who put us through all this crap, we get the opportunity to help all the townsfolk who've not been helped yet, as that shall grant us the true ending, in a way. Alright, just gotta talk about the Anju and Kaifei quest. Very simple. So, you gotta talk to some people, and I really mean some people, and deliver some messages, and I mean some messages, and receive some masks, and use some masks, and get some items and deliver some items, and help these fools keep alive their undying love. And to keep it undying, we should quickly play the Song of Time, cause the Doomsday Clock is 10:02 right now. Oh, I haven't even mentioned the splitting paths. Anyway, that's just one chunk of a side quest. There's more to do still. A lot of strange people to meet who give you stranger masks for the strangest reasons. Use your instruments to become a band all by yourself. Or remember how you were swapping property deeds earlier? Do that, but more. Or go meet this guy who teaches you how to do the yoinky sploinky. Somehow through all this we gather all the masks. We have all the masks now. So we can go to confront the guy who's evil but only a little bit, but quite a lot of a bit after having acquired the mask of evil. The ancient evil mask lets go of its puppet, who only wanted to play with his friends. He was never really evil, well, until he was, but it wasn't his fault. We are granted an avid ball strip for the ages, children running around playing in fields of grass, spotting masks of the monsters we slew, and one monster's mask who hasn't been slayed quite yet. You wonder where we are? In the moon, of course. The acid trip ends with us fighting the worst trip setter of all time, my sleep paralysis demon. This demon we fight is Majora. Majora being an ancient demon whose evil was sealed in this accursed mask. Fighting Majora is a funny thing, cause without the fierce deity mask, it may be a heavy task indeed. But with it, it's kinda a joke of a boss fight. And we are good beings, so we possess possession of the funny mask. So we just kill the guy. With that, everyone lives happily ever after, except for this guy. He is severely depressed. Skull Kid is pardoned of his crimes. The funny mask man has another mask added to his collection. Navi is also fine, I'm sure. All the people that Link helped at some point through this Groundhog Day loop are happy now. I don't know if the different timelines have converged or what sort of shenanigans are going on there, but I suppose it should suffice to just be happy about it. It's a nice thing, isn't it? Happiness.